Consider this. How often do we expend our energy in pursuit of another's approval, measuring our worth by their fleeting glance or passing words? The mind, restless and anxious, seeks validation as if it were nourishment, yet it finds only emptiness. Turn instead to yourself. Build the citadel of your character, strengthen the foundations of your reason, and cultivate the virtues that endure beyond the whims of others. Let your attention rest not on the fickle judgments of the oblique crowd, but on the mastery of your own conduct, the clarity of your purpose, and the tranquility that springs from self-sufficiency. Only when the inner work is done can the world approach you without shaking your peace. And only then will you walk among others with the quiet authority that no praise or neglect can disturb. True strength begins within. We spend countless hours measuring ourselves by the eyes of others, imagining that their nods, their praise, or even their silence will define who we are. Yet the truth is far simpler and far harsher. All external approval is fleeting, passing like shadows at dusk. One day, admiration surrounds us. The next, indifference. And we are left grasping at air, wondering why our value seems to vanish. With the change of opinion, consider this. If the measure of your strength lies in the shifting currents of another's judgment, how brittle must your soul be? The one who waits for applause waits in vain. They walk a path that is neither their own nor certain, handing over the reins of their life to the whims of strangers. Real strength is born quietly, in the hidden chambers of the mind and heart. It is cultivated in the disciplined ordering of thought, in the conscious shaping of one's desires, and in the refusal to surrender to every passing impulse. Strength is forged when the body obeys reason, when patience outlasts irritation, when virtue resists the seduction of comfort and vanity. No outside force can bestow this power, nor can any external hand snatch it away. Praise may lift the spirit for a moment, and scorn may wound. But the soul that rests upon its own foundations remains unshaken. Reflect on the things you have admired in others. Were they not the ones who acted with integrity, regardless of recognition? Did they not hold their peace amid chaos, their calm amid disorder, because their measure was internal, not borrowed? To look outside for validation is to chase a phantom. To build oneself is to secure a fortress that cannot be breached by fickle opinion. Every time you bend your thoughts toward the approval of another, you surrender a fragment of your power. Every time you retreat into the work of self-mastery, you reclaim it. And with each act of deliberate cultivation, the inner citadel grows stronger, impenetrable to the transient judgments of men. The world will offer no guarantees of admiration, yet it is rich with opportunity to strengthen what is yours alone: your mind, your character, your capacity for reason and virtue. Turn your gaze inward. Measure yourself not by applause or neglect, but by the quiet standards of wisdom, courage, temperance, and self-respect. Only in tending to these foundations does true strength arise, and only in this labor does the soul find the stability that no external favor can provide. To chase the recognition of others is to place your life in their hands. Each time you adjust your behavior to be liked, each time you silence your truth to avoid disapproval, you surrender a portion of your authority over yourself. The pursuit may appear harmless at first, even necessary, but slowly it reshapes the mind into something dependent and restless. You begin to act not from reason, but from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of invisibility, fear of standing alone. In this way, the desire to be accepted becomes a quiet form of bondage, one that convinces you it is freedom while it tightens its grip. When your worth depends on another's response, your peace is no longer yours. A kind word can elevate you unnaturally, and a careless remark can undo your entire day. This instability does not arise from circumstance, but from misplaced authority. You have granted others the power to determine your emotional state, your confidence, even your sense of identity. Yet no one was meant to live under such governance. The mind was not designed to kneel before opinion, nor the spirit to wait for permission to exist fully. Asterisk, observe how easily approval changes its face. Those who praise you today may ignore you tomorrow, not from malice, but from their own distractions and desires. To chase their attention is to pursue something that was never meant to stay. It moves endlessly without promise or loyalty, and the one who follows it grows exhausted while believing the fault lies within themselves. In truth, the error was not in effort, but in direction. Asterisk, power returns the moment you withdraw your dependence. When you act according to principle rather than popularity, something shifts within you. Your decisions become steadier. Your thoughts become clearer. You no longer ask, how will this be received? But instead, is this aligned with reason? In integrity, this change is subtle, yet transformative. You stop performing and begin living. You stop negotiating your values and begin inhabiting them. Asterisk. There is a quiet dignity in a person who does not plead for attention. Not because they reject others, but because they are anchored in themselves. Their silence carries weight, their presence calm, their actions deliberate. They do not need to announce their worth, for it is evident in how they move through difficulty without complaint and through praise without intoxication. By refusing to chase validation, they reclaim the power to define themselves, and in doing so, they step out of dependency and into self-command. Before seeking connection with others, one must first become whole within. Too often people look outward for companionship, admiration, or purpose, believing another person will supply what they have not yet built in themselves. This longing is understandable, yet misplaced. When the inner structure is weak, no external bond can stabilize it. Relationships formed from emptiness tend to demand rather than share, to cling rather than grow, because they are asked to carry a weight they were never meant to bear. Asterisk, the work that truly matters is quiet and often unseen. It unfolds in moments of solitude, in the discipline of thought, in the refusal to indulge every desire that arises unexamined. To cultivate the mind is not to accumulate information, but to shape judgment, to learn what deserves attention and what does not. A trained mind does not rush toward distraction, nor collapse under discomfort. It pauses, observes, and chooses. This ability alone grants a person more freedom than approval ever could. Asterisk, character, unlike reputation, cannot be borrowed or displayed at will. It is revealed through consistency, especially when no one is watching. It forms when one keeps promises, made privately, when effort continues without recognition, when restraint is practiced even in moments where indulgence would go unnoticed. Such habits appear small, yet they construct the inner order upon which all stability rests. Without them, confidence becomes performance, and confidence without discipline soon dissolves. Asterisk, to strengthen oneself is not an act of isolation, of preparation. When the self is cultivated, interactions become balanced rather than desperate. You no longer approach others asking to be completed, soothed, or affirmed. You meet them as an equal presence, grounded and composed. From this position, connection becomes clearer and lighter, free from expectation and fear. You offer companionship rather than demand reassurance. Asterisk, there is also a deeper peace that emerges from this inward labor. When your sense of worth is rooted in effort and principle, external circumstances lose their power to disturb you. Praise is received without attachment, and criticism without collapse. You understand that neither alters the direction of your path, because that direction was chosen deliberately, not inherited from the crowd. Asterisk, to build oneself requires patience. Progress is uneven, and the ego often resists correction. Yet every moment spent refining thought, moderating desire, and strengthening resolve is an investment that compounds silently. The world may never applaud this work, and it need not. What matters is that when challenges arise, when isolation presses close, or when uncertainty clouds the future, you possess an inner steadiness that does not flee. From such cultivation arises, not arrogance, but quiet readiness, the ability to stand firm, not because circumstances are favorable, but because the self has been shaped to endure. Peace is not granted by the world, it is established within. Many believe calm will arrive once life becomes easier, once others behave more kindly, or once recognition finally comes. Yet experience teaches otherwise. Circumstances shift without warning, people disappoint without intention, and expectations unravel despite careful planning. If serenity depends on such unstable ground, it will forever remain out of reach. The mind that waits for external order, before becoming calm, will spend its life in agitation. True tranquility arises from self-mastery. It begins when one learns to govern reactions rather than attempt to control events. You cannot dictate how others speak, act, or judge, but you can decide how deeply their behavior enters your thoughts. Each moment of restraint strengthens the boundary between what is within your command and what is not. This distinction, once understood, brings immense relief. The soul is no longer burdened with impossible responsibilities, nor exhausted by resisting what was never meant to be resisted. Asterisk emotions, when left undisciplined, behave like unruly guests. They arrive uninvited, linger excessively, and demand attention. Self-mastery does not require their suppression, but their guidance. Anger may rise, yet it need not rule. Fear may speak, yet it need not decide. Through reasoned observation, the mind learns to acknowledge feeling without surrendering to it. This practice is not dramatic or visible, but it transforms daily life more profoundly than any external achievement. Asterisk, the pursuit of applause offers momentary excitement, but it also brings dependence. When satisfaction is sourced from recognition, silence becomes threatening and neglect feels like rejection. The mind grows restless, scanning constantly for signs of approval. In contrast, mastery over oneself produces a quieter joy, one that does not surge or crash, but remains steady. It does not require validation to persist, nor attention to justify its existence. Asterisk, such inner command grants freedom to impress, but because action aligns with principle. You speak not to be admired, but because truth requires expression. When errors occur, you correct them without self-contempt, and when success appears, you accept it without vanity. In this state, praise cannot intoxicate, and criticism cannot wound deeply, for neither holds authority over your sense of worth. Asterisk, this composure changes how life is experienced. Delays lose their cruelty, insults lose their sting. Uncertainty loses its terror, not because these difficulties disappear, but because the mind has learned not to amplify them. By governing thought, desire, and impulse, one creates an internal harmony that external chaos cannot easily disturb, allowing life to unfold without constant resistance or inner turmoil. A life shaped by discipline and wisdom does not announce itself loudly. It moves with restraint, guided not by impulse but by intention. Many mistake confidence for display, believing it must be proven through words, status, or comparison. Yet true confidence needs no performance. It is expressed through consistency, through choices made when convenience offers an easier path, and through the refusal to abandon principles for momentary comfort. Such a life speaks quietly, but its presence carries weight. Asterisk, discipline is often misunderstood as harshness, yet in truth, it is an act of care toward the self. It is the decision to rise when the body prefers rest, to remain focused when distraction calls to act rightly even when no immediate reward follows. Disciplined choice strengthens the will, not through force, but through alignment. Over time, effort becomes identity, and character forms not through grand gestures, but through repetition. Asterisk, wisdom grows from attention. It requires observing one's own patterns, noticing where emotion overrules reason, and correcting gently but firmly. The wise do not pretend to be beyond error. They simply refuse to remain unaware of it. They examine their thoughts before accepting them, question desires before obeying them, and choose patience where haste once ruled. This awareness creates distance between stimulus and response, allowing action to emerge from clarity rather than reflex. Asterisk, from discipline and wisdom arises a quiet confidence that does not seek recognition. It does not need to dominate conversation. or demand acknowledgement. Remain steady, whether surrounded by admiration or met with silence. This confidence is not built on superiority, but on self-trust, the knowledge that one can endure discomfort without breaking, criticism without bitterness, and uncertainty without panic. Such a life does not resist hardship. It expects it. Difficulty is not viewed as injustice, but as material for refinement. Each obstacle becomes a place where character is tested and strengthened. When circumstances challenge comfort, discipline responds. When confusion arises, wisdom steadies the mind. In this way, life itself becomes a teacher rather than an enemy. To live with this orientation is to move through the world unhurried and unafraid. Not detached from others, but not dependent on them either. You contribute without seeking applause and withdraw without resentment. Your worth is not negotiated daily through opinion, because it has already been established through effort, reflection, and self-command. In such a life, confidence is not claimed, is felt, and it endures quietly, shaped by virtue rather than visibility.